That's Marilee and Shirley at Stevens. And my mother. I'm almost sure this is when Shirley was going there, not Marilee. Marilee just went down to see the school. She later on went.
It started?
Yeah. That's Noble, my brother. My mother. Now this is a group of my friends in Chicago. This is when the Tucker was going on. You know, the car was being made. These are friends of mine. That's my Uncle John in the foreground, my Uncle Maynard and Uncle Sherrill. Maynard always was band. He loved music and he had a band, and he always worked for my father. My sister Shirley, and that's Maynard's wife, but I can't not remember her name. Uncle John in the middle. Now, this is Marilee in an operetta at Atlanta High School. It had to be at 45 or 46. She had the lead. That's Marilee. That's the one Francis likes so much. I think it was Naughty Marietta.
Sounds funny.
Yeah. I'm sure of that. That's Marilee. Now this looks like in Indiana, but that's Greenville, Michigan. My brother Noble, Marilee, Preston, and that's Uncle Sherrill, Uncle John, and my grandfather, my great-grandfather. And my grandmother, Lucille Holmes, and my mother. Boy, she's a tough old bird. School teacher for about 30 years, married 4 times, all of her husbands died on her. That's my mother and father. And Uncle John again, and my grandmother. Preston, Marilee. Noble, making love to a tree. Grandma Greenville. We first started going up there, they still had an outhouse. Now this again has got to be Columbia, Missouri. And the girls going home from school. It looked like our Lincoln in the background there, so that's Deacon Parsons, Marilee's husband. Me on top. Bill Wynn. My sister Shirley. This is again in New Orleans now. Marilee and Shirley. That's my Aunt Sue, my grandmother's sister. Denny, cousin Denny, me, Marilee, Aunt Harriet. This has got to be in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. Uncle June, Thomas, my father and mother and myself. That's got to be Easter. Merrily in her fur coat. The whole Tucker family was exceptionally Shirley. That's Noble. It was the other shot over there. Deacon. This is in Columbia again, and this is at the Kappa Alpha house. Or yeah, KA. That was my father back there. This has got to be West Point. George was teaching there. Yeah, George was George Shirley's husband. Taught there for a while too. He graduated from West Point, and that's Gulf Coast Military Academy. That guy was my company commander, and I can't remember his name now. That's my mother. And now you're in Rio. He went down to Rio the first time. They came up to see him. It was the League of Capitalists and Industrialists of the country of Brazil, and invited him down to meet Capac and discuss the possibilities of building a national car for Brazil, which they got a development contract for. Came back and did the preliminary designs on the Carioca in Ypsilanti, and then went back down again, got approval to complete the design, and then on his third trip down, of course, is when he had the bug, and they said, okay, we'll build it, you know. And he told me he was going to get rid of the bug, and then when he got rid of that, they'd start to work on the Carioca, the Tucker Carioca. That's Preston, my mother, in Gulfport, Mississippi. That's Wayne Wands. Now you're getting back to grandchildren again. That's little Preston. That's my daughter. And that's little Deacon. Leakin' Deacon, we call him. That's my daughter in the middle. And I'm trying to... Deacon again, Preston, little Preston. Kids look like they're having more fun than anybody else. No. That person I don't recognize, neither one of these.
But this is the coast, Gulf Coast?
Yeah, has to be. Surely. These shots of the kids look almost like they're really close to. Well, this is much younger there. This is a couple years before the other shots. Yeah. And now that's my mother's mother and father, the Fuquas. Elijah Fuqua was his name. This is back to Greenville, Michigan again. That's George Hosier, and my sister, my oldest sister Shirley. My father, little George, and my mother. Back to the hunting trip now. Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He always had like people, you know. These guys all worked for him, but it wasn't like working. You know, it was more doing things together. You know, he was the boss, but they all admired him. You know, and that's Den Crowell. There's my father getting up late. Charlie Volker and Dan LeBoux. I drove to New Orleans with Charlie Volker, and he'd keep waking me up in the back seat. I was a little boy, and I finally put some rubber bands in his pipe. He'd wake me up to fill his pipe up for him. I finally the rubber band hang over the door in the back in the car, so I put the rubber band in there and filled it full of tobacco on top of it, so he wouldn't ask me anymore. No, this is evidently on the way back. Go in the bathroom. That's Noble and I. My dad just stopped along the road. Go out behind the bushes. Preston. This is back in Michigan again now. That's Carl Hazelton. I think his name is Yoder.
They'll work for you.
Yeah, engineers. There's the. This is at Ford Lake in Ypsilanti, Michigan. That's my dad. I'm almost sure. No. There's a family where there's 5 generations. Grandpa, Ma Preston, Lucille Holmes, her daughter, my father, my brother Preston, and little Preston. Mother and daughter. Yeah, Preston always acts serious. That's 5 generations of the girls. That's our backyard in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Every Sunday afternoon, thickest steaks you could get. Great big. I just had them come just huge every time. I think every time. That's George Hosier and my older sister Shirley. That's my wife, Mary Jane. Forgot all about her. My mother, little Preston again, Shirley Hosier. Shirley Myers. We had to call her Shirley Myers because we had a Shirley already in the family. When Preston married her, we just naturally just called her Shirley Myers. That's a Doberman pup. Oops. There's my dad. Is it? Yeah. That dog grew up. You can't see in the background. There's over the one side there's a great big dog house that my father had built for the dog. The roof was on hinges, and my father had this bearskin rug that my mother hated. And finally, she put the bearskin rug through the bearskin into the dog house. Well, the dog was on a runner chain, on a wire, and he wouldn't go near that dog house. He'd lay on the ground and growl at that bearskin rug. And every day he'd get a little closer to it. Finally, one night he got to the rug, and he tore that thing in a million pieces. It was all over the yard, just everything. The head tore it up completely. This is evidently a car show. That's got to be in Detroit, as I said before.
When during the war did your father start working on
the Tucker? He had to be working on it in New Orleans, or he had his ideas way before that. But really seriously started working on it when we came back from New Orleans, which was right before the end of the war, and in Ypsilanti. That's got to be in 44, 45. GMC it had on the side of the thing. Okay. That's Ernest. He was superintendent of schools. His first name was Ernest because the principal's name was Frank, and they used to every meeting they I'm very Frank and I'm very Ernest. This is in Atlanta again. The Dobermans. My father would con the kids into going on, doing little sidewalks. There he is. The dog wasn't appreciating that very much. Now this is aboard our boat in Lake Michigan. Charlie Volker in the background and Noble at the wheel. Trolling for trout. Preston. Charlie Volker and Preston, and I can't see who's over the other end. That's Dan LeBou. Over Beaver Island. And that's me. God, we caught a bunch of fish that day. Shirley Myers. This is in Beaver Island again, Beaver Island, Michigan. It's about 35 miles out in the middle of Lake Michigan. That's not me. Perch. There's Ma Preston and Sue, Deacon Parsons, Marilee's husband, my mother. Looks like Denny. Yeah. This has got to be in Grosse Pointe at Aunt Harriet's house. Yeah. That's Uncle June Thomas. He's from the Thomas side of the family. That's where my father's middle name comes from, the Thomases, Preston Thomas Tucker.